God's Locked Up Treasures is kind of the title that I gave it. But it starts out with God's treasures locked up behind bars and razor wire. God will soon unlock doors to use people whom you might not think He ever would. It was late and I was tired and I wanted to go to sleep, but God wanted to talk. It was about midnight, but it dawned on me that God does not sleep. His question made me restless. Bill, where on earth does man keep his most priceless treasures and valuables? I said, Lord, usually these treasures, like gold, silver, and diamonds and precious jewels, are kept locked up somewhere out of sight with usually guards and security to keep them under lock and key. God spoke, like man, my most valuable treasures on earth are also locked up. You know, I just maybe stop right there for a second and say your opinion and your understanding of who God thinks of you is, you're going to get blown away if you really knew what He thought of you. I think what we do is keep a record of all things we've done. Especially we have a paper record of all the things we've done. The courts have all the records of all the bad things we've done. The newspaper keeps track of it. And you get it put back in your face. And the embarrassment of it and the shame of it. But what does God, when He sees the criminal record in your life and He sees all this, He sees something totally different here. He sees the potential that you don't. And I think this letter that he wrote is straight from God. I really do. I believe it. So the second part here, out from these walls will come forth an army. I then saw Jesus standing in front of seemingly thousands of prisons and jails. And the Lord said, these have almost been destroyed by the enemy, but these ones have the greatest potential to be used and to bring forth glory to my name. Tell my people I am going this hour to the prisons to activate the gifts and the callings that lie dormant in these lives that were given before the foundations of the earth. And I kind of want to stop there, and you guys need to recognize there are some talents in you. The whole jail is locked up with a bunch of treasures, a bunch of talents, a bunch of abilities. And some of you recognize it. We all kind of recognize it when we see what you can draw or paint. But there's people that can't draw or paint, but they have a way with people. Or they have the ability to do some certain trades, or they have the ability to work with relationships. But there is so much talent out there. And talent doesn't always come with prosperity. Most of the time, all the talent out there is unrecognized. And because it's unrecognized, it causes poverty. And then it can cause criminal behavior and all kinds of things. But there is treasure in you. And you know what? Most of you haven't discovered it. I remember when I was 16, I did a school play or something. No, a church play. And then everybody was like, man, you can act. I was 16 years old and I just discovered that I could act. And I was shocked. Never thought about it before, but I was put in a position to have to do the play. And then that happened. And that's what I'm going to be praying for you guys, is you'll be put in positions to do things you probably never done before. And then all of a sudden you recognize some things about yourself. But some of you, it's pretty obvious. You have it, we know it, and now we need to bring it in and hone it in and do the right things with it. Out from these walls will come forth an army of spiritual giants. Again, that's talking to you. They will have power to literally kick down the gates of hell and overcome satanic powers that are holding many of my own people bound in my own house. Now, I got to stop right there for a second and say, do you realize that if you look at people and you go, hey, they're spiritual or moral than me and better than me, that is a lie and that's wrong. If you look at the chaplain and you think that he's more spiritual, or Miss Viv or Miguel or any of those people that come see you that are chaplains or ministers, don't fall for that. That's not true. Nobody's better than nobody. Every one of the chaplains, especially this guy, has been rescued. I'm just another guy that's rescued, and I want to talk to you about the rescuer. It's like I'm in a boat and shivering with a towel on me, and I was rescued out of the ocean, and there was a storm. And then Jesus is reaching his hand out, and I'm saying, with the blanket and the shivering, going, reach out to him. And he's reaching out. He's the rescuer. He's the Savior. So he's bringing people in the boat. He's bringing ex-offenders, ex-drug addicts, ex-drug dealers, ex-this, ex-that. He's changing and transforming them. And guess what? They're becoming the key people that are helping most Christians. In other words, you're sitting in jail, and the churches don't know it, but they need you more than anything. They're lost in a ways without you. And that's a weird thing to think about. Like, I'm lost myself, I'm in jail, and yet I'm valued. Yes. You know why? Because of your experience, and the road that you've traveled has been a rough road. And a lot of the Christians and stuff and all the moral, nice people, they don't know that road. But you do. You know it better. And guess who's attacking everybody? Down that road that you've been into, we are in a war, and the enemy is dominating the good people. But the people in the Clark County Jail or any other jail out there, or prison, you are the ones that are going to be sent into those places to help and rescue. They'll have power to literally kick down the gates of hell and overcome satanic powers that are holding many of my own people in my own house. That's you, and that's Christians that are suffering. You are going to help them. Forgotten vessels must be restored. Tell my people that great treasure is behind these walls in these forgotten vessels. You know, one of my jobs, I think, here is to try to get people to come to the jail to see you. I don't know if you are not getting visits, and those that aren't getting visits, Christians are wrong. I'm wrong. Christians are wrong for not being in the jail. And Jesus, we'll read it in a minute here later, takes it personal and says, when you came to the jail, you came to visit me. I take it personal. And Jesus also says, when you didn't come to the jail, I take it personal. You did not visit me. My people must come forth and touch these ones, for a mighty anointing will be unleashed upon these for future victory in my kingdom. They must be restored. I then saw the Lord step up to the prison doors with a key. One key fit every lock, and the gates began to open. I then heard and saw great explosions which sounded like dynamite going off behind the walls. It sounded like all spiritual warfare. An all-out spiritual warfare. Jesus turned and said, tell my people to go in now and pick up the spoil and rescue these. Jesus then began walking in and touching inmates who were thronging him. Many who were touched instantly had a golden glow come over them. God spoke to them, there's the gold. Others had silver glow around them, and God said, there's the silver. You know, just a few minutes ago, we were talking about what you're supposed to be doing. And then you could say, hey, you know, you're asking me to go run a marathon and my legs are broke. Exactly. You're to run a marathon, and guess what? Your legs are going to be healed. Remember at the very beginning of this title here, forgotten vessels, that's you, must be restored. Man, I just want to I get so mad to see you get trampled on and hurt. I know many of your stories since you were kids, you were hurt and victimized. And it's awful. And you've turned around and you've also, you know it, you've victimized too. But I am sick of you getting ran over. I'm so sick of it. But you know, am I going to grab a person and choke them? No, it's a spiritual battle here. And it's going to be all about prayer and going to God and everything like that. It's going to be about guts. And you're the ones that have the biggest guts. The drug epidemic, obviously you're under chains. And you're stealing from your own family. But it's not you. You're checked out. You're held hostage by a devil. And we're just sick of it. I hope you're sick of it. And this is the answer right here. We'll go to the next one here. This is the fourth, and we got just this one and one more. Now go, pull down those strongholds. As if in slow motion, these people began to grow into what appeared to be giant knights in armor like warriors. They had on the entire armor of God, and every piece was solid and pure gold, even golden shields. When I saw the golden shields, I heard the Lord say to these warriors, now go and take what Satan has taught you and use it against him, and go and pull down the strongholds coming against my church. And we got to stop right there. Can you imagine Jesus saying these words, and he's saying them to you, as saying, the life that you live and the crap that you've gone through and the stuff and the junk that you've done, and you were actually being taught by Satan. You've actually got experience that how you can use for me to go back and rescue your kids, your family, your community. You are experienced to run over the devil that's running over our community. Go and pull down the strongholds coming against my church. These spiritual giants, and that's you, then started stepping over the prison walls with no one to resist them, and they went immediately to the front of the line of the battle with the enemy. I saw them walk right past the church as the big-name ministers known for their power with God were surpassed by these unknown warriors like David going after Goliath. You know, there was a bunch of warriors, and they're going against their enemy, the Philistines, and then the Philistines sent out the giant, and there's the story, David and Goliath. So the giant is sitting on one side of the hill, and the other side of the hill is the children of Israel, and nobody would go out to fight him. But they were warriors, and they were well known, and there was the king, and there was all of his leading guards and all his military guys, all the high-ranking officers. And then there was this little guy coming around feeding people, like they're ready to go to war, and they're looking at the giant, and they're like talking like, we got to take this guy, but I'm kind of scared. But this little guy who's a nothing nobody is feeding people, and that's David. He's a shepherd boy. He's a chump change. He's like, what's going on here? Is anybody going to go against the giant? I'll do it. I'll go against him. You're a nobody. You're a nothing. We're well known. That's what God's saying. You are the Davids, and you're going to beat Goliath. You're going to beat the giants in this world. The giants of addiction, the giants of violence. You are the Davids that can defeat that. And you are not thought of as anything right now. But soon, it's not going to be about, oh, now that I've been thought of. But soon, people will go, wow, who was that? Who did that? And God's putting it on you. These spiritual giants then started stepping over the prison walls with no resistance, and they were immediately to front the line of the battle with the enemy. I saw them walk right past the church as big-name ministers known for their power with God were surpassed by these unknown warriors like David going after Goliath. They crossed the enemy's line, and they started delivering many of God's people from the clutches of Satan, while demons trembled and fled out of the sight of their presence. I don't know how many of you guys have said this. I've heard it before. You have been in the presence of spirits around you, demons. You have seen the supernatural. You've seen crazy stuff. And a lot of the nice people that are going to church, and I'm not putting them down, but they don't know what you know. You have been in the enemy's territories. One of my buddies, like I said, been institutionalized in and out of juvenile, starting as a kid, in gangs. He's a dope boy, blah, blah, blah. All the works, not the good stuff, all the stuff. He talks about all the demons that he's encountered, and he tells me stories now that he's a David now, with the power of God on him. He's told those demons to get out of here and go, and he's seen crazy stuff and people's bodies, tweaking around and all kinds of nasty stuff. He's seen it all. That's you. That's the plans that God wants to do with you. Who are these people? No one, not even the church, seemed to know who these spiritual giants were or where they came from. All you could see was the armor, that the golden armor of God from head to foot and the shields of gold were there. The shields were restored to God's house, and they were great victory and rejoicing. I also saw silver, precious treasures and vessels being brought in. Beneath the gold and the silver were the people nobody knew, rejects of society, street people, the outcasts, the poor, and the despised. These were the treasures that were missing from God's house. In closing, the Lord said, if my people want to know where they are needed, tell them they are needed in the streets, the hospitals, the missions, and prisons. When they come there, they will find me in the next move of my Spirit. And they will be judged by my word in Matthew, saying, for I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. God himself is angry at people, his people, for not coming to see you. And it's about it's over with. I mean, not over with. It's time now for that to stop. And I've heard people, there are good people, they're nice people, they have businesses, they're smart, they make money, but they're kind of scared to come see you. But guess what? They're in trouble with God. I'm not saying God's going to kill them or anything like that, but he's angry at them. And I pray that they start getting woke up in the middle of the night and having dreams or nightmares of missing out on you, the treasure that they need to come and see and help you. In a sense, it's like those people need to come and rescue you, and you turn around and you're going to go in and defeat the enemy that's totally holding this community hostage. You are the answer to the community's problems. And it's God that's going to do this through you. You're the chosen ones that are listening right now to do this and to gather together and be the army, and you'll be unstoppable. God's going to put power on you that's unstoppable to the enemy. It's stoppable to a lot of good people, but to you it'll be unstoppable because there's a special type of power put on you. And you'll have to always give thanks to him and always give him the glory. You don't soak it in and say, hey, check out what I did. Of course, you don't do that. You give it back to him. That's giving what they call the glory back to God. Give him all the thanks and everything like that. Well, guys, I love you to death. And I wish I would do more. I have failed you in many ways, and I pray that you be merciful on me. But man, I hope you're tired like I am. I'm just tired of it. I've been here for 20 years. And I've seen things. One day I watched a guy go away to prison. And I really kind of heard this in my ear. And it's funny that I get this letter that I read to you today. And I just could hear this guy went off to prison. He'd murdered somebody. And if I mentioned his name, a lot of you guys would know who he is. And I really like the guy. And it's sad that he killed somebody. I mean, he might have killed more than one. And it's sad. I hate that. But I really did like him. And as he went off to prison, God showed me his face, who he looked like, and everything. He's a big guy. And God said, this is the faceless, nameless army, my army. And it's funny that I read that letter today because I remember that 10, 15 years ago. As I prayed with him and he went off and got taken to CRC or wherever, I could feel God saying, that's my army. That's my army. So that's why that letter really impacted me, because here's another guy from the state of Maryland that I don't even know is writing things about what I felt years ago. And I know it's true. In this very office right behind me, I look around and I see stuff that was built by guys that were trustees, and one of the guys that did some of the work in here is dead. And I'm angry and upset to lose him. And I'm angry and upset to see him no longer being a father to his beautiful girls. And enough's enough. I want you to be not only alive, not only to turn around and become a father, or you ladies to become the mothers, and to become the successful and to be able to make money enough to take care of everything. But I want you to be warriors. I want you to be giant killers. Our community needs you, and you are the answer to our community's needs. You are the solution. And you know what? Most of the community doesn't know it. But guess what? We're going to have God intervene and do it. And in that letter, it's like people were surprised, going, who are these people? What's going on? You know, they're all the big wigs getting together trying to figure out the solutions, and all of a sudden, we're going to have solutions. We're going to have things work out. And they're going to be going, how'd that happen? And where'd that happen? Where'd that come from? It's God using you. So you guys have a great day. Thanks.